Hello and welcome to the Brit Iron Podcast, episode 27. Today is a massive episode. It is our Super Bowl preview episode, and boy, are we excited to talk about football today.
Very excited.
I'm so excited.
Like, very excited.
But before we get into proceedings, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the UKTouchdown.com. It's a great source of signed college and NFL memorabilia based in the UK. Everything on there is fully verified and 100% legit, so you know exactly what you're getting for your money. So go check it out, UKTouchdown.com. Boys, it's finally here.
It's time.
It's time. The day is upon us.
A season in waiting.
Very much so.
Longer than a season in waiting, if you're me.
Yeah.
For this episode.
No, that is true. That is true. It's what, like 20 or 19 seasons in waiting since the last time you guys went to the playoffs and Super Bowl?
2002, right?
Yeah.
Long
That's
time
insane.
ago.
Very long time.
And you've deserved it this year as well, I think.
Yeah, we've earned it. We've earned it.
But maybe we should cast our minds back to some other playoff games from this year, because we haven't really gone through previous ones in that much detail. I mean, do you boys have any particular highlights from the playoffs that you, off the top of your heads?
I've
got about 3 of them so far.
Apart from the Buccaneers, perhaps, because we've gone for a long time.
I loved that Chiefs game. Chiefs-Browns. That was a great game to watch. Had everything on there. I really enjoyed watching that game. I really enjoyed the Packers game, the championship game, just because that was it was right down. It was one of those games where it gets to the 2-minute warning and you think, is Aaron Rodgers going to get the chance to do this? Oh, no, he's not. But no, that was a great game to watch.
Yeah. And any particular? That's probably a hard question for you, isn't it?
Well, weirdly, not a Bucks one. Well, I mean, still a Bucks game, but Heineke coming out and playing for Washington. I really enjoyed as much as it was a bit like, oh god, I quite enjoyed watching that. Just seeing him lights out.
Yeah,
it's nice to see someone win themselves a spot on a roster next year.
Hopefully, like a name you've never heard of just come out and go for it. It was great.
Yeah,
it was really quite enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, really great moment. Any disappointments though? Because I know for me, Ravens fan.
Oh yeah,
that game was very disappointing. We just didn't turn up and it just wasn't good. But any particular teams you're disappointed in or moments that disappointed you? Perhaps I know when the Packers field goal one we talked about in the last episode. That disappointed me. Disappointed a lot of people. Not disappointed for you, Matt, of course, but
I think a weird one for me was actually Breeze, and just the way he potentially has gone out and ended his career. Maybe taking that beyond the scope of just the playoffs, but obviously I wanted us to win. But doing it with him throwing 3 picks and just a nightmare for him, sort of thing. One of those games that he's always going to look back on and just be like, oh, kind of feel for him. But
not getting the chance to go out on top, not getting that final playoff game at home in front of the fans. I mean, I suppose that's a thing that anyone really that's in the league that's going to retire this year kind of missed out on that opportunity, especially the legends that aren't Rivers not getting to go out in front of a stadium and all that. So that's a bit of a shame, I think. But there's just so many things from this playoffs and this season in general. Testament to the NFL. They didn't cancel a single game because of COVID. There haven't been any major issues with the COVID thing, which a lot of other leagues have faced, and they didn't do it in a bubble. So I think the NFL can really take a pat on its back. It's dealt with COVID very well.
Yeah, brilliant job, I think.
Oh, definitely. And I think from the team, from everyone, I think as well, it's the big thing from the teams, coaches, everyone. It was only really that one Denver game where they had practice squad receiver at quarterback where it really seemed to hit home. A couple bits around the Steelers and Ravens, but for the most part, was just apart from there not being fans, didn't really affect it from our, viewer perspective.
The quality on the field seemed as good.
Yeah,
and you were never worried about a game being called off anyway. Like other sports,
not really.
It's a bit of a worry, but they seem to get the nail on the head with this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially during the playoffs.
Yeah,
that was the big one. Outside of Devin White missing the first game. I don't think there's been a ton of big players missing games because of COVID when it matters, which I think is the main thing because you don't want your team coming through, let's say, on like Sunday, Bucks win it, but Mahomes is out.
And we spoke about that a lot, didn't we, this season, that no one wants to be in that spot where you're turning around and going, oh yeah, they won that game, and you never want that but in there, and the NFL did quite a good job this year of avoiding as many of those buts, the COVID-related buts as they can. Obviously, there were other injuries and stuff, which are a shame, but that's part of the NFL.
Yeah,
that's football, baby.
How injury-plagued the start of this season was as well. It seemed like the season of ACL was back in that first half of the season, which luckily that slowed down because that just seemed like every week. there was another couple. So glad that stopped.
Yeah, was it week 2? Was just week
2 was ridiculous.
Yeah,
the Niners especially having those 2 back-to-back MetLife games and just everyone's knees exploded essentially.
Yeah, question marks over the field and stuff like that. But
glad that stopped. That was getting a bit.
It feels like so long ago now.
Yeah, it really was, wasn't it?
It's just opening every pod, wasn't it? Like, and so and so's done their ACL.
Yeah.
And so and so, and a third guy's done it as well every week. It's like, this is getting a bit.
Remember, we're never scrambling for news, though. That's the thing. So
I think I take no news over ACL news.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably a bit of a negative outlook on it, really. But talking of disappointments, I'm surprised you didn't mention the Steelers in any greater detail.
That weren't a disappointment for me.
I'm not sure.
Not for me either.
Loved it.
I'm not sure we can class them as a disappointment because by the time we got to the playoffs, we knew what the Steelers were. The Steelers were a team that were a great defense and that had a lot of massive holes on offense. If you don't have a run game and you've got an aging quarterback whose arm is hit and miss, you can't expect to go out and compete consistently with the best teams. And I think everyone knew that coming into the playoffs. Yeah, they had a great regular season and their defense carried them along. And yeah, Ben had the ability to step up and do it. But I think realistically looking back, if we were talking about them in the Super Bowl, it would have been because Ben would have overachieved and put that team on its back with a complete lack of run game. And maybe that would be asking a little bit much of an aging Ben.
True.
Potentially, yeah.
It's almost
fair
like
assessment.
Before the season, that was my big thing. I mean, he lasted a lot longer this year than I thought.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just the fact he didn't have the run game is what hurt him. But I know that was my main thing in the preseason. I was like, I just don't see Big Ben showing up for a whole season.
Yeah.
And
he didn't.
Just.
But I still think that is a team that this year you can't put that on Big Ben.
Oh, no.
And that if they'd even in their playoff games or playoff game, should I say, if they'd have had a running game, it's a completely different story. If you're not relying offensively completely on Big Ben's arm, they're a different team, and they're a team that would probably have gone a lot further and been more in that conversation. So they really need to fix that this offseason. Is you need to figure out your run game.
Safe to say I think James Conner, not the next guy there. Not the
had a good
not
year.
the Lev Bell replacement we thought
ago.
he was. Lights out, obviously dealt with injuries and everything. Last year wasn't good. For me, this was the flip year where you've had a 50-50 performance, step up, and he hasn't.
Yeah. And
so if I'm the Steelers, I'm really considering.
They've got a whole new running backs because it's quite clear that nobody in that building is the guy. Benny Snell didn't look great when he got opportunities. Anthony McFarland didn't look stand out. Okay, he's only a rookie and he didn't have a ton of work, but I don't think there's anyone in that building that the coaching staff has sold on.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way, does it? From what we saw towards the end of the season. If I was in that room as well, I'd be airing the same sort of views as well, I think there. So pretty spot on, I have to say. But okay, let's get on to the preview then for the big game.
Huge game.
Super Bowl 55 this year.
55? 55 is 55.
55.
Yeah,
56.
Sure. 55.
56. He said 55 before the episode.
No, I said 54 and then realised, no, it's 55. I think.
55, 56.
It's 55.
Bucks Chiefs.
Bucks
Bucks
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
That's a better way of putting it.
What a
Poor
game.
rookie there.
Yep.
Dear oh dear.
I feel like we all came into it convinced and we've all said a different number.
Yeah, no, it is 55.
Yeah?
Probably.
Put your money on it?
I'll put my money on it.
Put
my life
second
on it.
Oklahoma drill against F.A. Bard on it.
I'll fight
Back to back.
A fight to the death on it.
Do you want to call him out?
No, I don't. He would destroy me.
He would destroy it,
No.
yeah.
No, it is Super Bowl 55. Bucks Chiefs, and it's going to be a great game, I think.
Should be, yeah.
Hopefully.
No COVID issues as well. A couple of guys have been put on the COVID IR list, but they're not positive. So no COVID issues as it stands today, which is going to make it a brilliant, fair game. Two teams with their best players going at it. How are you feeling about this, Matt, as a Bucks fan?
It's really weird. Now, I think getting through the Saints and then the Packers, that feeling I had before we got into the playoffs of we haven't really shown it yet in prime time. We haven't shown it against a big team. And we've come into two games where we're the underdog and everyone has just expected, this is where the Bucks are done. This is where the season ends. And we've got through both of them. And we've done it on the defense mainly. Like Brady's had periods in those games where he's put up the points. But it's the defense that's got us to where we are right now. And that, for me, going up against the Chiefs is the bigger factor. like compared to when we played them last time, and Tyreek Hill went nuts in the first quarter. We're a different defense now. These guys are playing lights out, and it's the same. And I said it last week. We just need one play, and it's almost Todd Bowles has echoed that in his interviews this week. Of these guys just smell blood in the water, and we really do. One turnover, one big play, one sack, and you can see everyone just goes, "All right, he's done it. I'm gonna go out there and make a bigger play. I'm gonna make a bigger play." And
you're going to have to do that in order to win this game. This Kansas City are one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the best teams I think we've seen in a long time in just terms of consistency. You can never count them out. And I think that fact that you do have those guys on your team that are massive playmakers, yes, I expect them to get burnt for some massive plays, and there will be plays in this game that you look at Tampa Bay's defense and you think, what are they doing? Like, that doesn't make sense. But I think this game's going to come down to a couple of big defensive plays from either defense. The Bucs are going to have to force turnovers because Patrick Mahomes, when he gets the ball, he's going to score. And if you don't force the mistakes and you don't force the turnovers, I don't think there's going to be a lot of 3 and outs in this game, because I think the Bucs are going to have to go for it and offensively to keep up. And either team is going to be playing aggressive defense. You need to force those turnovers, in my opinion, to win this. What I find interesting is you kind of say it's down to the defense and stuff like that. What I'm really looking for is the offensive play calling in this game. How do the Bucs approach this? Because there were times last week where they were last week in the championship game, maybe a little bit too aggressive when they didn't need to be. And that just intrigues me as to whether they're overly aggressive, if you know what I mean.
I think there was a couple bits, and it was more in that. The first half, I think, was pretty much perfectly called on both sides of that ball, like for the Bucs at least, not the Packers.
That's not there.
I think in the second half, maybe it's not always the play calling, it's just what Brady tried to do a couple times. And there was a couple of just sloppy ones where he just was about to get hit and just heaved it up in the air. So for me, I think it's hard to tell on the play calling side of things if there was meant to be an easy read, typical Brady sort of play over the middle, or something to Gronk, something like that, or Godwin in the slot. But he's seen the pressure at him, he's clocked, thought Evans has got a chance there, heaved it and just made a bad throw. So, because that sort of play calling we haven't really seen throughout the season. You go back to the Saints game, go back to the Washington game, even regular season, there hasn't been a lot of that. I just think that's 2 moments where
I think
you just see it's still a new one, first year system.
Yeah, and also it's Tom Brady at the end of the day. If anyone's going to eradicate those issues, it's going to be him.
He's got 12 days, apparently. I saw a tweet, it's just him in his house, his family's not even there. It's essentially just Brady locked away, apart from when he's at practice, just prepping and watching film. That is a thought I'm very happy about. Just
12 days as well.
Since the last game, it's literally just him on his own the whole week. Almost like he's planned that.
Yeah, 12 days.
Like, you guys go have a lovely little holiday or do something. Locks the doors, changes the locks. Right, game, film.
Living the dream, eh?
My question with that, though, and I'm taking this back to the play calling, is why they were running. Oh,
he's rabbit hole.
He looks like he's going to become very negative.
No. Like the Bucs were up. They were up comfortably in the fourth quarter, and they went out on a drive, and Brady threw a pick, right? And now the defense holds, and they come back, and they're kind of moving towards plus territory. Drive's going well, and then they throw the ball. They're consistently throwing the ball, even though they've got the lead, the ball in hand, and they're not handing it off to any of their running backs. Now that, for me, and they did this on 3 consecutive drives, and I think there were 2 picks that led to this. Why, in that situation, are you throwing the ball? I don't actually care if you've got Tom Brady or who you've got there. Why risk throwing the ball when you've got a running back? And because they were doing it on first and second down as well, and it doesn't make fair enough on third and 10 or something, you throw the ball, but why are you not running that clock down, running the ball? And against a Chiefs team that you can never count out, those kind of decisions worry me.
The thing is Chiefs, Packers this year, equally explosive offenses. For me, the big thing is we knew we could lean on the defense. But at the end of the day, we gave, I think it was 6 points off of those 3 turnovers. And it's very much a thing of no risk it, no biscuit. That is Arians saying, I'm trusting this defense. I'm trusting Todd Bowles. We can just go ahead and play lights out here and try and just end the game. I think it's aggressive play calling, which for me is the right thing to do in that situation. We know when we need to, we can run the ball between Fournette and Rojo. And we were on those drives, just a couple bad throws. And I think it was more the fact, it was just someone got through clean on Brady and he's heaved it. I think it's not a play calling issue for me at all. I like us doing that. I think the only way you're going to beat teams like the Packers, teams like Kansas City, is to run the score up against them. And you've got to take those chances. But also, you've got to the Super Bowl. You have to have a defense. You've got to trust it at points like this. And I think if we just try and slow down and just constantly grinding out running the ball, I'd rather we go for it, throw a pick, trust the defense, than just try and grind out a game and at the end of the day, just not be able to keep up with the juggernaut offense. Yeah. One thing for me, you've got to keep throwing the ball. That's no risk it, no biscuit, Arians football.
No risk it, no biscuit football, but it is the Chiefs at the end of the day.
It was the Packers, though.
It was the Packers, but I mean, come on, it's the Chiefs. You know, they are lights out all season.
Well, and Rodgers weren't. Until he met the Bucks. 2 games against the Bucks, he won.
Rodgers was lights out all season, but you're going up against the Chiefs, you've got Mahomes, who's been lights out. You've got Tyreek Hill, who's been lights out. You've got Travis Kelce, who's been lights out. They're a lot more dynamic, and there's a lot more things to cover. Don't get me wrong, the Packers were great all year, but the scheming against the Packers is much more simple. It's right, stick as many guys as we can spare on Devontae Adams, and keep an eye out for Rodgers, and that's it. Whereas here, you can do everything right against this team, but they're just so dynamic that they're still going to burn you. Like, this is actually a team that I think you can't completely shut out of a game offensively. No, they've just got too much talent and too many people on that side of the ball that you can't account for them.
And I think that's the thing for me, is I'm not expecting us to at all. Like, I mean, this was my thought as well for the game against the Packers, but I genuinely think this is going to be one where we are losing this at half time, and it's one of this defense needs to step up. I mean, that was the same story as when we played them the first time. Defense got absolutely burnt in the first half. Todd Bowles adjusted the defense. Second half, it was enough that we could claw it back, make it a close game. I think it's just about having that adjustment slightly earlier, not giving up as much as early, putting up more points in the first quarter than we did. Easy adjustments, which is essentially what we have done since that game, since the bye week. So I think, we're never going to shut them out entirely. It's just about sort of limiting it.
Yeah.
Not making it as easy, so it's a couple plays and Tyreek Hill goes for 200 yards in the first quarter kind of game.
Yeah, extend this game over, right?
Yeah. So I think that's the thing. Our young secondary should have learnt from that, and we kind of know as well, we can't just put one guy on Tyreek Hill because he's going to get burnt every time.
The issue, and this is where I think the Chiefs are such a problem for everyone in the league, is when you're sat, and at the end of the day, football, it's actually a numbers game. It's if we've got to double cover one person, that means that somebody somewhere else is getting let slip. And when you've got an offense that, who have we got to double cover? Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. But then arguably you've got players like Mecole Hardman and stuff who will just come out of nowhere. There's such a mismatch on that side of the ball that it's going to be really interesting to see how you guys deal with it. And I think that's why I was saying earlier that this is really down to defensive plays from you guys. You're not going to be able to stop them. So the only way I see the Bucs actually winning this game is takeaways. You've got to force takeaways.
Yeah.
This is what you were saying as well. Once you get one,
exactly,
the team gets fired up and installs confidence in your team and your defense, and it's that culture that we were talking about before, that culture change from this season, which we really see on that defense.
That's why I think we will be able to do that, because at the end of the day, we know how it works, this Bucs defense. We get in their face, we're going to talk trash to them. You look at Devin White or Anton Winfield. Whenever you see a play just stop, they're always leaning over the guy, getting in their ear.
Yeah.
Which they bring that attitude. So the second something happens, they're sort of there, it's like the gas leaking into them, then all you need is a spark, and then it all just kicks off.
Yeah.
And I think what you're going to see is a lot of Tyreek Hill doubled up. Devin White is going to be big on stopping the run game, stopping Edwards-Helaire, but also kind of lurking around that Kelce region. And I think this is a game where Levante David has to have a career game. And essentially it's him with a help, depending on how we play it, if we get a little bit of zone in there too. But largely, Levante David taking on Travis Kelce and sort of saying, right, when it's anything over that middle, you've got to stop him getting the ball.
Yeah.
The second he goes beyond you, fine, that's on the DBs at that point. But those two have got to do enough and then let this great sort of front seven we got go to work as well. Let Sue, let Shaq Barrett, let Vita Vea deal with Mahomes and try and get to him and throw him off. These main guys, sort of more towards the secondary, have got to step up and stop those two. You're not going to be able to stop every single weapon, But it's the same. They've got to deal with the same on their defense.
Yeah,
when
that is
talk
true.
about our offense, you've
Really
got to
true.
be able to shut down Gronk. Cameron Brake's shown up as a great release valve for Brady. Leonard Fournette is playoff Lenny at the moment. And then Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, you've got to deal with. Oh, and Scotty Miller doing the McCall Hardman role.
Scotty Miller.
So it's the same thing for both of them. And I think this is a game
Yeah.
where Scotty Miller, like, there's a lot to talk about him. This is where we see, is he going to be able to be a kind of long-term option for the Bucks at receiver, or is he just sort of a guy who's third string, a bit of a gimmick guy for now that we're going to end up moving on from at some point? Because, I mean, there's eyes on him now this game. Can he reel in a big play? Can he sort of beat Tyreek Hill at his own game and kind of say, all right, anything you can do? Oh, we can do it as well, by the way.
Yeah.
That's what's got to happen for me.
And I mean, he's already come out and said he's quicker than Tyreek Hill, right?
I love that.
That was the claim.
Back yourself. I mean,
That's very
I don't know if I
bold.
believe
I don't
it.
know if I want to see the race. I mean, they're both very quick,
Oh,
but
undoubtedly.
Tyreek Hill is different level of quick.
Yeah. Cheat for a reason, right?
But I mean, I love it. Back yourself. And to be fair, come out and say that. There's going to be a little bit in some of these DBs' heads for the Chiefs thinking, oh, right, okay. Like, we've got to watch out for this guy. And he might not be out there a ton, like, in comparison, but it's still going to be in the back of their heads. Maybe they give him that little bit more space. And he's not quite as quick. They practice against Tyreek, obviously, every week. So they're going to maybe overrun some of this, thinking, oh, he's got Tyreek speed. And if he's a little bit slower, a little bit shifty one inside, they're like, oh, we've suddenly given him 5 yards. That's all Brady needs is 5 yards on a receiver.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there's a little bit of a... Wouldn't surprise me if Brady's got in his ear, been like, bring some attention to yourself before the game this week. Make him really think about you. And then, oh, wait, we got Godwin. We got Evans still.
The other player that I think this is a huge game for is another one of your receivers, Antonio Brown.
If he's out there.
If he's out there, I mean, this would
it's
be
unlikely.
This would be if he can get out there, and I'm praying for him that he can get out
yeah,
there.
Definitely.
Just because what a comeback story that would be to go from the absolute pinnacle of the NFL. I mean, when he was his final year with the Steelers, he was at the top. He was the best receiver in the game. He consecutive years of leading the leagues in touchdowns and receptions. He was the best, and then to fall off the face of the earth in terms of just not playing, not your PR stunt going so terribly wrong. To then be able to come back, get onto a team, first of all, was impressive. To then be able to keep his mouth shut and produce...
No storylines, apart from on the field ones.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
He's done what everyone
Brady
thought
effect.
he wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, it is a Brady effect, isn't it? Under his wing sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I would really like to see him get out there, and I'd like to see him get a touchdown, because I think he's with the last couple of years excluded, I think he's a Hall of Fame player, and being able to complete this comeback...
On the field.
On the field, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But I think if he can complete this comeback, get a ring, and show that, look, he had a bit of a blip, I think this would be enough to get him into the Hall of Fame. He just needs to complete that year or two in the league of quietness, not have any more stories around him, and not make a fuss, and that ring, I think, secures it for him.
He's in a good position for it, right?
Yeah.
No better position to
Definitely.
be than under Brady. Like you say.
Exactly. It seems to be working. Whatever those two found for his brief game on the Patriots.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the longer this has gone on as well, the more he has worked himself into it. And I think fair play to him, because at first he wasn't getting the looks. He wasn't really... You kind of thought with AB, if he's not coming into it and being the guy and getting the headlines on the field straight away, it's going to unravel.
Yeah.
And it hasn't. He's just slowly worked his way into it. And even where he's had a couple big games and a few where still not really got anything.
Yeah.
He hasn't been childish about it, essentially. He seems like he's grown up a bit, maybe.
Yeah, very worthy of the position he's in now.
But, I mean, if he can be fit for this game, it's obviously a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if not, we've seen Tyler Johnson, great catch against the Saints. Moment for him. Come out there, rookie. Prove yourself. Like, everything you see is that Brady loves him.
Yeah.
Let's see why.
Yeah.
Beyond just, obviously, one catch against the Saints. I see a game of it.
Yeah.
Big moment that'll be for him.
You need
Stepping
this is
out
one of the
there.
games, isn't it? It's Super Bowl. You need everyone, that whole roster, anyone that's on the sideline, step up, have your best game.
We'll put it in the right direction and
Exactly.
do what we've got to do.
I think there is going to be one element for me, is that Brady effect that we talk about. As much as, obviously, you've got Mahomes on the other sideline, who that Chiefs team, they all are so bought in, and he leads them well. I think there's going to be how Brady is going to have this team bought in, that the players, they're going to want to get him that ring to kind of legitimise him fully on his own away from Belichick. They're also going to be wanting it for Arians, I think. And then Mike Evans, Levante David, how long have they waited for this game?
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any complacency on the side of the Bucks at all. And I think potentially, we'll have to see how they all manage it, but some of those guys for the Chiefs, is there going to start to be a bit of, They don't have to earn their place in the Super Bowl. They expect the Super Bowl. We're coming back. We're the reigning champs. Like, we're the team to beat in this.
I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of pressure on Mahomes here. This is the biggest game Mahomes will ever play in his life. If he loses this game, he will never be able to be considered the GOAT. He just won't. Because if you go and get beat by the guy, it doesn't matter if you then go and win 7 Super Bowl rings. In 20 years' time, if you've won the same number of rings, people are just going to go, yeah, but remember that time when you played and you were at the peak and this was a guy who was 43 and you lost? This is huge for him. So there is that element of Mahomes. There's actually a lot of pressure on this game for Mahomes, because I think that if he loses, he's never catching Brady.
Potentially, yeah. And I mean, well, Brady coming out this week and saying, as long as he doesn't get injured, he's like, yeah, I could see myself playing beyond 45.
Yeah.
Like, so apparently it seems like he wants to keep going. I mean, at this point, the way he's played this year.
Yeah, he's a turtle.
Go for it. Yeah, fine with that. But like, the way this AFC is stepping up, I think next year it's not as much of a gimme that the Chiefs are going to be there. Like, it's been points this season, especially once the Steelers fell off, that it was kind of like, yeah, the Bills looked good. Yeah, the Browns were lurking. There was something about them. It was like the Chiefs are going to be playing in the Super Bowl at the end of the day. They don't look like they've had to get up into that next gear. But I think going forward, some of these AFC teams, like Miami especially, the Colts with the right quarterback, they are building towards something where they could make this very difficult. Like this AFC, that side of the playoff bracket, I think for the next, maybe across the next 5 years, is going to be the more competitive one. I think the NFC, the NFC is a bit more of the old guard at the moment, whereas it seems like the AFC is the one with all those bright young stud quarterbacks who are going for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to predict that side of the bracket.
Definitely.
The AFC this year. So NFC was a bit more gimme for some of those games, they've got played. But yeah, there's a lot of good teams in the AFC.
Nice. Big one for Mahomes, I agree. I think he's got a really... I mean, I think we've seen from Mahomes, he can keep his head and get the job done.
I think he can.
But we haven't seen... I mean, we've seen one game where he really had to face a lot of turnovers and defensive pressure was that Miami game this year.
Yeah.
That's a way less important game. That's not in the Super Bowl.
It is.
Can he?
I think he can keep it together. I mean, we saw in his first year as a starter, he went into New England in the AFC Championship game and very nearly came out with a win. And this was Brady at his, effectively at his best. Those last 5 or 6 years in New England, Brady was as good as he's ever been. So I think he's used to the spotlight. He's happy with the spotlight. And I think he's going to go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, there's a little bit for this whole Chiefs team of they're coming into this, as much as you could say, right, it's the Bucks, they're playing the first team to have a home Super Bowl, and they want to kind of legitimize that. And apparently, Arians came out. This was pre-season, and the thing he said, because from the practice you can see Raymond James, and he pointed out and said, "Do you want to be in there, getting dressed in your own locker room, going out to play a Super Bowl, or do you want someone else getting that perk?"
Yeah. And
now they've got there. Yeah. Now we're there.
It worked.
For the Chiefs, they're coming in thinking, all right, let's go down. Tropical weather, let's go down Tampa. Let's spoil the party. So I think that for me, that factor, the whole home game thing, I'm not seeing that as any sort of edge, because it gives as much of an edge to the Chiefs as wanting to sort of spoil it and go in there and do that sort of the dirty side of football.
If not bigger,
as opposed to it kind of balances out for me.
Yeah.
So
it's exciting times.
It's going to be such a good game.
It's going to be so good.
Great game.
Such a good game.
It's two teams that you can't, regardless of what the score, unless it gets like a 3-4 score difference. Even if it's a 2-score game, I'm still sat there like, this could flip still. These quarterbacks, clutch
anything
factor,
can happen.
But
they're
best
the two
clutch
players
ones.
in the league that all throughout this season, whenever James has turned to me and you and said, so what are you going for? Who are you betting on? We both just go, well, I'm not betting against Brady or I'm not betting against Mahomes. Yeah. And it's a guy on either side. It's a nightmare.
It's almost going to be that effective, like one of them does something, looks at the side over, seeing him on the field and sort of gives him a little, well,
come on, your turn.
So the other guy puts up the numbers and goes, all right, back to you. It's going to be like almost a tennis match of just like...
Anything you can do, I can do better. Which
hopefully
may lead to a big game. And speaking of big games, the under-over is set at 56 as it stands.
That's high for a Super Bowl, isn't it?
Big under-over, which means Vegas think it's going to be a shootout.
With the defenses though that are out there, because the Chiefs' defense is nothing to laugh at either. Decent defense.
But it's Brady and Mahomes.
Exactly.
That's the thing, Lee.
I'm taking over.
Over. I don't think my heart could, watching it, I don't think I could take the over. Like, it's going to be so back and forth. But I'm not betting any money anywhere near this. I mean,
If you had to.
Sneaky feeling it's going to hit the under.
Okay.
I think there's going to be some big defensive plays in this game from both teams. I think there's going to be some big stops and some big takeaways. So I think maybe that just keeps it under.
I'm so excited.
But at the same time, it could just be a massive shootout and be like 80 points.
I don't know. So it's only 28 to get the 56 mark, isn't it? Someone do the maths.
Oh, hang on. That's
28.
Yeah.
You see it happening because at the end of the day, Brady Mahomes.
It is,
Yeah,
and you can't bet
territory.
against either of them.
Exactly.
But I'm still going to have to. Because I can't not bet on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is true, yeah. All the money.
That's my exact thought right now, is I really should not, because I will probably make
Well,
really
your best
biased
thing-
bets
yeah.
and lose money. But I'm going to.
Your
Yeah,
best
may
bet
as
is to
well.
just bet everything on the Chiefs, and then either way, you're happy.
Yeah. As long as
True.
it's not too much, like 100 quid.
Yeah,
Maybe
obviously
not.
don't
Yeah, I
put
was
like
gonna say,
everything you're
this much
worth
rent.
on the Chiefs, but
No, Toyos, only bet what you can afford.
yeah,
Yeah, that is
When the
very
fun
prudent.
stops,
responsible
stop.
gambling.
But anyway, back
Anyway.
Yeah. I
All on black.
plus offsetting bets, maybe. Just do bet on both teams to win.
Yeah.
That's less exciting.
Yeah, because
Takes the bias out.
Yeah.
you win like a pound at best of that.
What happens if
Profit
a
is
Super
profit,
Bowl
Jack.
ends in a
Yeah, true.
tie?
It doesn't end in a tie.
Yeah, but
Wait,
like
what are the-
games
surely you must have
technically
just
can.
back-
Do they
no,
do you
surely
just
you
get
have
to a point where they
continuous
flip a
OTs.
coin? Well, no,
Surely
because
you can't
no,
flip a
there's
coin.
rules in the NFL that
Is it different though?
They would be.
Because
There's
it'd be the
no
same.
way.
Surely it's just a playoff has slightly different rules.
how electric would it be if it got to the point that they go through all that and they come out and they're like, look, the rules say we've got to do this. by
Scotty Miller
coin."
races Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Oh god. Bruce
Half-
Arians.
This is
races
after
Andy
like
Reid.
after like an hour and a half of football.
Who knows?
At that point, Hill was going to play a lot more snaps.
Yeah.
So, right, bet on the Bucks, people, because
Yeah.
it comes down to that
Oh
tiebreaker.
lord.
I do like the idea of Bruce Arians and Andy Reid going at it with Oklahoma drills though to decide the Super Bowl. That would be
Best of 5.
electric.
Love
Gronk,
these
Travis Kelce,
full
Oklahoma
pads as
drills,
well.
Yeah.
Brady Mahomes.
Oh god. Yeah, that would be a scary prospect.
Brady finds a loophole and just,
Yeah.
sorry, Vita Vey is it?
Yeah.
actually?
Yeah, then bet him on it.
Yeah.
Back to the football. Let's talk about the spread. It's currently at -3 in favour of the Chiefs. What do we think about that? Are we betting for the Chiefs on the spread, or are we betting for the Bucks on the spread?
I'm taking the Bucks with the +3. Like, taking all as much as I can bias out of it. There is just part of me that sees this as Brady 2-minute drill, just doing what Brady does in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, and having maybe one of those games where he has had a couple moments, like with the Packers, of a couple picks. I think I'm expecting 2 picks from Brady.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll be happy if it's 1. I'm happy with that as a performance, but I think potentially 2 picks comes down to it. Brady 2-minute drill, knows otherwise the headlines might say those picks, he lost the Bucks the Super Bowl. Says, all right, gets it done, throws the touchdown. And with that, I think +3 is enough for me.
I'm taking it as well. I'm definitely taking
I'm
it.
going against you guys. I'm taking the Chiefs at -3, and I think this is actually a 7-point game.
Yeah,
I think whichever way this goes, I think it's a 7-point game because I think there's
100%.
going to be a lot of going for it on 4th down, and because either team is aware of the guy calling the shots of the other team, no one's going to want to settle for 3. It's going to be, right, if we're taking away points, we're taking away 7. And I think the Chiefs come out on top because I think the Chiefs are just the overall better team. But there is always that Tom Brady element.
But
isn't
it's
there?
Brady.
And
It's
I'm
Brady.
not taking that in like a confident,
Yeah.
put a lot of money on it because this is going to happen. And of these two guys, I would have more faith with Brady if it came down to the 4th quarter. But I think Mahomes is going to come out all firing. I think this is the game that in 20 years people will look back on and go, Brady was next level. Maybe Mahomes was uncatchable ever because if he wins this today, he's then within 4 Super Bowls of Brady at the age of 25. And I think this is the game that everyone looks back on for the rest of his career and goes, wow.
Yeah, that was
Like,
the game.
what we are witnessing history here.
Yeah, I reckon as well there is that argument for the Chiefs, what we were saying about the AFC.
Yeah.
Maybe them feeling that pressure and knowing this was a harder AFC this year. So kind of knowing we've got to get this done now. And if he wants to chase down those Brady numbers, chase down those rings, this is one you need
Yeah.
because like it's the double swing either way, isn't it? And him chasing down that record. So
Well, Brady had 2 in his first 3 years as a starter.
So there you go.
Mahomes, you got to step up to the plate.
Yeah. You think you can do it? So put your money in your mouth, isn't it?
I will.
Bet on that one.
I will.
But sticking with the betting.
if he doesn't, what are you naming your second one?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that. You should mention that.
You have to name him
Tom?
Brady.
I'll name him Tom.
Brady Goat.
Brady Goat.
Middle name Goat, first name Brady.
Brady's quite gender.
I couldn't call my kid Brady.
That's the whole point of the bet. I wouldn't do it for something you
yeah,
want to do.
yeah,
You can't need to be something you don't.
Yeah, but
Otherwise, you would just do it anyway. You know, it's
Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
I feel
if
like
he does it, you can have a nice meal, get yourself a nice Macca's.
Yeah.
It's not the same, is it?
No,
don't
I'm
do that.
not going with
Oh,
that
no.
one. I'm not going with that one. I'm not taking that one.
You've learned from your silly bets.
Yeah. I mean, at this rate, I might have to fight Effie Abada or something at some point down the line. So I'm going to stop talking.
Finally. Finally.
That's so peaceful.
Taking 26 regular season episodes, 32 team previews, a couple of fantasy episodes here and there as well.
And it's finally happened.
Finally happened.
Let's just enjoy it.
Enjoy the peace, enjoy the quiet. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's beautiful. It's your moment, James.
Bliss,
Is there anything you've wanted to say for these past
God, yeah.
6 months?
God. There's so much potential for me to say right now, but I'm not going to say it because we don't want to get cancelled or anything like that. And parents watching.
Yeah, I was going that way with
Well,
NFL related.
Fair enough. Let's move back to football before I go down the rabbit hole here. Prop bets, though. We haven't really mentioned these in any other games because it's a big game.
Mm.
Any prop bets that you guys are looking at in particular? Maybe I'll just jump in first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, he likes it. Wherever
I'm a
yours
bit-
is, you're
It's
like
better
it.
be a good bet now.
Fournette 2 yards.
Yeah.
No, Fournette 100 yards and a touchdown, I think. I think Chiefs run defense is there for the taking at times. And Fournette, like you mentioned earlier, this is playoff Lenny, and he's been playing lights out the last couple of games for you guys. So I think there's potential for him to go off. There's always the worry about
The
Rojo.
Rojo. The touchdown,
situation.
I'm loving that one. It's just 100 yards.
So I'll probably get good odds on it.
If it was 100
Smash
all
it.
per, is it just 100 rushing?
100 rushing.
Oh, 'cause he gets a lot of the passes.
Yeah, he does.
But
But-
I wouldn't be shocked if that
Yeah.
comes in. To be fair, yeah.
But I think you had one there from that as well before I jumped in on my own.
I've got one that I really like, and then almost a sort of secondary one that makes it quite as much of a prop there. But the first one for me is Chris Godwin, 100 yards and a touchdown. I think for him as well, this isn't just to get your first ring game. This is a new contract game still.
Yeah.
There's still big questions. I mean, cap-wise, I think it is doable for both him and Shaq Barrett, as long as it's not a stupidly low cap. But he's got to show, because there was a couple of drops earlier in the playoffs, so I think he needs to come out and have that big game now and just be like, that was an off game.
Yeah.
It happens. When it really counts, I'm here. So I think he's going to be fired up for this. I can see that coming in. I think it's 5-1. So a decent little bit of value there for a receiver like Godwin.
That is really good odds. And your other one?
The other one I quite like is, I don't know quite if it'd be off, but Bucks defense getting 3 sacks.
Okay.
I have a feeling, especially with, I can't remember his name now. Is it the starting left tackle?
Okay.
Is out for the Chiefs. He did his Achilles. For me, when you've got JPP playing how he is, Shaq Barrett playing how he does, especially last game, and Vita Vea back.
Yeah, losing that
For
blindside
me,
tackle
that
as well
blindside
is
tackle
big.
being gone is, and the way Bowles is going to scheme, I think it's going to be a case of making that whoever it is that comes in feel as uncomfortable as possible in the moment, and then get that doubt in Mahomes' head of there's someone always going to be coming from behind me.
They're going to have to bring the house as much as possible as well, because there is nobody better in the game and no team better in the game at adjusting when plays are extended. So you can't allow them to extend the plays. So you are going to have to bring the house a lot.
It's extending. The practice we did for Rodgers, it's almost the next level of that with how Mahomes can do it sometimes with the no-look stuff as well.
Yeah.
But
It's just keep that prep. So, yeah, I've got a little feeling. 3
that's a
sacks.
good bet to take. Interesting to see what the odds do. Once you put it
Yeah,
through the
that's what I was
system
thinking.
and whatnot. But Sam, what is your prop bet going to this game?
Mahomes,
My-
500 yards.
Well, I'm actually going to go. I've got a couple of exciting ones.
Go on. Excited for this.
I am going to say Mahomes, 4+ touchdowns, 350 yards.
Wow. Okay.
I think you get good odds on that, and I think they're going to throw the ball a lot.
Vegas agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I really like Mecole Hardman, 100 yards from scrimmage
Yeah.
and a
okay.
touchdown.
Mm.
He won't get a lot of looks, But when he gets those looks, it will be funny end arounds and things like that. And he's the kind of guy who can just go for 100, for 99 and a touchdown on one play. And with all of the other pieces that the Bucks just absolutely have to prioritise over him, there is a very good chance, and it's happened in many games in Mecole Hardman's career, that he just gets forgotten on a play or two, and he's the kind of burner who, when he gets forgotten, will make you pay.
That recovery from the mistake against the Bills and a couple big plays, I think, has done him the world of good for getting looks in this game, because it's the fact they know that he's shown he can do it and kind of keep his head, which I think makes they'll trust him more.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still a young guy, and he still is sort of the option behind Tyreek Hill, obviously, that's not always going to get the looks, because if you've got Kels or Hill open, which normally one of them is going to be, you go in there. So I think it's big for him doing that, which I think I like that as a bet. That's a good one. That sneaky little...
We should probably do a little accumulator and see if we can get some big
What a
ones.
massive! Can you imagine if Godwin goes for 100 and a touchdown, Mecole Hardman goes for 100 and a touchdown,
Fournette 100 and a touchdown,
100 and a touchdown, and Mahomes for 350 and 4,
and 3 sacks from the Bucks
I
defense.
think that bit through.
With that,
4 touchdowns, 350 yards, still taking 3 sacks at the same time.
I tell you what, we will
electric.
tweet Sky Bet
Good idea.
from our Twitter account
Brit Iron,
and say, can we get this as like the Brit Iron special?
There is no chance they call it that, but can we just get it?
Yeah, as a imagine that request.
Give it a go. Yeah.
Brit Iron specials on Sky Bet or whatever.
Yeah. At Sky Bet,
Oklahoma
get
drill.
Get it done. Otherwise, I'll Oklahoma drill everyone in the Sky Bet office.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Oh god, your body's about to go through the works here, mate.
It'll be alright. It'll be alright.
You've got enough left, haven't you?
Yeah, I could always get another one. Just buy another kidney or something.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
We'll
all go for a beer afterwards. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
I think you're going to need beers before.
Yeah.
I think you don't want to remember any of that, I don't think, mate.
Oh lord! But boys, that is the Super Bowl 55 preview. God, I'm buzzing for the game.
I can't wait.
I'm excited, but I'm also
you're
nervous.
definitely
I'm like,
nervous.
it is going to be an all over the place evening for me. These two current Saints and Packers, I was like up down. Like I don't know what to think. It's going to be even worse.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh yeah, brilliant game for ahead, and what a way to end the season as well, especially after the year that we've all had. I think it's well deserved.
It's good to we've got it. Like we said at the start, we've got all the way through this season to have the big game with all the big players. Hopefully, as long as nothing changes in it.
Yeah, touch wood, nothing changes.
Cannot wait.
Great.
Well done to the NFL.
Well done, Roger.
Congratulate. Well, maybe not Roger.
I got to give him something. Yeah, give him something.
And well done to us.
Yeah, well
Well
done, Matt.
Every
Well done,
week, all
James.
through this. Good job, boys. Well done, James.
Well done to everyone at home listening.
Thank you for listening as well.
Yeah, thank
Over
you.
the course of the season, it's been a big first year for us. We gave a thank you last weekend. Last episode, sorry. I mean, these videos aren't going to stop coming anyway, so we'll probably thank you next week.
Big off-season coming up.
And
the second this is
turn it
done,
up.
straight into draft.
Yeah, exactly. Grind don't stop.
Reacting to our terrible takes from the season previews.
A few tier lists as well. We're going to do.
I'm not going to come off well in the next
sorts of off-season content. And our own little combine special, maybe little something in the pipe work that you could all laugh at even more.
God.
See us running some 6-second 40s.
Yeah, we do need to get down the park and do
Electric.
some sprints, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
to see
pretty
Sam on the
sorry.
bench.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh dear.
Max wait to see if he can.
This off season is not going to be a good look for me.
Physically,
Yeah, this might not be good for you at all, mate.
Physically, there's going to be clips of all of my terrible takes from the season. I'm just looking forward to the pre-draft stuff.
Getting some big mock drafts of you, I think, to balance this
Yeah,
out.
I think my pre-draft analysis is going to have to be good to make up for all of the terrible stuff I've done in the last 9 months.
God. Sounds horrendous.
We've really got off topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to wrap just announce all that. Check out. It's coming soon.
Sub, get the notifications on.
Yes, go to
miss
YouTube. Go like, comment, subscribe. And turn on the notification bells, Matt just mentioned there. It'll let you know when we post that one episode. So you won't miss a second of the Brit Iron Podcast. Also on Spotify as well. We don't really plug this one enough. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the regular.
Out on all of them. Yeah, all the big ones. If you can't get to a computer or your phone to actually sit down and listen to it, if you're on your commute or whatever, whack it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Look us up on Spotify.
We're all over the place right now, so check us out wherever. Also on Twitter and Instagram at Brit Iron. Go give us a follow on both those platforms. Get involved in the conversation. Start a little community on both of those, which is great to see. And thank you for listening. See you next time.
See ya.